girls, in this section we're going to talk about music and nature. Before we start making our activity for this section, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what music in nature is. If I'm standing outside on a nice warm day and there's birds warbling around me as they look for food, is that an example of music in nature? I think so. How about if on a windy day and I'm standing near the trees and I hear the branches of the trees rubbing together and it kind of makes that it's kind of a squeaky sound. You can hear the leaves rustling. Is that music? How about when I go to the ocean and I go to the sound and I can hear the waves coming up in that rhythmic tone? Is that music? There's lots of ways that music can be in nature. Another way is that if an artist, let's say someone who plays a violin, goes out into a field and plays music out there. If he's inspired by the environment around him, then we could say that he's playing nature. We could also say if he sees one of the little birds hopping around frantically looking for food, then he could take his violin and he can play to the motion of the bird, maybe going fast or maybe a snail slowly moving along, then he could play slowly. There's lots of different ways that we can watch nature and interpret into the sounds around us. For an activity today, we are going to make music out of the wind. We are going to make a wind chime. From your kit, you are going to need flour that comes in a bag, and it should already be measured for you. This is 1 cup of flour. You are also going to have salt. Your salt is half a cup of salt, and it's already measured for you. You are going to need string, and you are going to have a piece of a straw in your kit. From home, you are going to need a half a cup of water. Here's my water. You are going to need things that you find in nature. Now, we're going to be using these things in nature to make prints. So when you're looking, look for things with texture. So when I was out, I found this shell, and so I can see the texture on here. Also, I found a pine cone. This one's not a very good example. Well, it is a pine cone, but I would maybe, those ones that come out a little bit more, I would maybe pick that next time. So I have a pine cone. And then I also got some leaves. And when you're looking for leaves, it will work better. If like you see these lines on here, the veins, if you can feel them, the bigger they are, the better impressions you're going to get. So you're going to need those. You're also going to need a stick to hold all of your wind chimes. You are going to need something to protect your table, so we're not scrubbing the table. And because we're going to be using the oven, you are going to need an adult. So before we begin, set your oven to 200 degrees. So grown-ups, please set the oven to 200 degrees. All right, let's start making our salt dough. So I have my 1 cup of flour, and I have my half a cup of salt. Oh, hold on. My salt got all hard. Hold on. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a salt dough. A salt dough is a mixture of salt, flour, and water. And when you bake it, it comes together to kind of make to make a clay, so that we'll be able to keep it. When we hang it on the trees and the wind starts blowing, then hopefully the wind chime, the pendants made out of the salt dough will come together and make music. Oh my goodness, look at this. It's turned into giant bricks of salt. Okay, so we're gonna break them up into smaller bricks of salt so we can use them. Man, this is a unique problem I didn't think I would have. Just break them up even more. Don't worry, just Deborah fighting with the salt. Hopefully the salt in your bag is better than my salt. Look at this. I had to take the whole top off, try to get the salt out. Okay. Look, this is the problem. Look at that. It's all clumped together. Must have gotten some water in it. Okay. It's so hard. I can't even break it. All right. Ugh. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All right, so I'm going to do my half a cup of salt. It's flying everywhere. My half a cup of salt. Maybe one of these other shells will be easier. All right. Now we have the salt problem figured out. Okay, I'm going to put my salt into my bowl of my flour. And I'm also going to put half a cup of water in. Hello, this is Deborah from the future. Half a cup of water is too much water. Use 1/3 a cup of water instead. Good luck! In our mixture, and we are going to give it a stir. This is going to make a dough that we can manipulate. So I'm going to stir it up. It's getting thicker and thicker and thicker. We want the consistency of this to be like Play-Doh. So as I'm stirring, let's see, it looks like I might have added too much water to mine. So I have a little bit extra flour, so I'm going to put a little extra flour in. And as you're doing this, try to keep it on a tray or a tablecloth so that way we don't have to, you don't have to clean the table too much. There we go. Okay, now it's thickening up. I'm just going to knead it a little bit. Okay, so I have my salt dough broken into 3 even pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cookie sheet and I'm going to put it on my cookie sheet. Hello, this is Deborah from the future. Don't forget to put foil or parchment paper on your baking tray. I'm going to press it down to make a flat circle. I don't want to press it too thin because then it's more prone to breaking. But I don't want to leave it too thick either because then it'll take a long time to bake and harden. Okay, so I'm just going to push this down. There we go. And I'm going to take my straw and I'm going to poke a hole right through the top. Because eventually, once this is dry, I'm going to take this and I'm going to attach it to my stick with my string and I'm just going to blow in the wind. So I have my hole in there and then I'm going to take one of my items. I'm going to use my shell with the spiral and I'm going to push into it. With the barnacles are actually coming out really neat in this. I'm going to push into this and get the impression of the shell. All right. So I pressed in quite a few times with my shell, and now this is what it looks like on my tray. So I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to move to the next one. So again, I'm going to take my salt dough, and I'll roll it into a ball. I'm going to put it on my tray and press it flat. Me again. I was just thinking that maybe yours salt dough doesn't have to be round. Maybe you want it to be triangles, or maybe you want it to be rectangles. Whatever shape you want them to look like is what you should make them look like. And this is a tray that we use for a lot of our different art projects. But you can also use any one that you choose. So I'm going to push it flat, get my straw, make a hole, just like that. And then I'm going to do my pine cone. I'm going to push my pine cone into it and see the impression that my pine cone makes. And then the last one would be my leaf. Once I have all 3 done, I'm going to take this and with my grown-ups' help, I'm going to put it into the oven set to 200 degrees. It's kind of hard to know how long it's going to take. Baking time takes way longer than 30 minutes. Start at 1 hour. If they're not all the way dry, they can finish drying on the counter. I would say put it in there for 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, take it out and check it. It's hard to know how long it's going to take because of the thickness of your discs. If mine was this thick, it would take a lot longer to cook than if it was really thin. So try it and then take it out, test it. What you want is you want it to be hard. And I will be back when mine is done baking. So my discs are finally dry. So I'm gonna finish up my project. What I'm gonna need is I'm gonna need some string, scissors that are right here, and I'm going to need a stick. So I'm going to take my string and lace it through my salt dough, and I'm going to tie it up onto my stick. I'm going to do this with all of them. And then once I'm done, I can hang it outside and it'll make a nice sunshine for me. So there's one. And then I'll have the other two and they can blow in the wind. I'd love to see what yours look like. Bye!